want to start too late. So welcome everybody who... Hello. Sorry, welcome everybody to this peer learning session that we've got from the Conservation Strategy Fund. I'm delighted because Natalia Sanin is actually an alumni of the Cambridge Masters, so always lovely to see Natty and see what she's up to. So in a minute I'm going to hand over to Natalia and her team to do the presentation. The format will be the presentation and then we'll have a space for a Q&A at the end. Please feel free to use the chat function at any time for any questions that you might have. Because we are recording this for the library and for those who can't attend, if I can ask you to be on mute when you're not speaking, that would be helpful. And also it is really nice for the presenters if people can keep their cameras on if they're able, just so that they don't feel like they're talking into their laptops. So if you are able to be on screen, that would be I'm really enjoying these peer learning sessions. Keen to offer more. The aim is to provide a space for our members to give an overview of your programs with the design, curriculum, lessons, challenges. Can be any aspect of your program, or it can even be a space to pitch a new concept if you want collective advice. So we really welcome anyone to come forward with any ideas that they have for how they might want to share an hour with the CLTN network. So yeah, please get in touch with me if you have any ideas for things you'd like to offer or things you'd like to see, and I'll try and make that work for you. So I will put the previous sessions in the chat so you can see the library that we are building. We currently have 3, so this will be the 4th. I'm going to stop speaking now and I am going to hand over to Natalia, who's going to tell us about the Conservation Strategy Fund. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Shirley. So hello everyone, Natalia, Sanin. I am the Conservation Strategy Fund Global Training Director. And as Shirley mentioned, I am also an alumni from the Conservation Leadership Masters in Cambridge. So hello, Howard, and thank you so much for being here, everyone, for taking the time to be here with us, and also for people watching this recording later. Thank you for watching. So let me share my screen, make sure that I share my sound and that everything. Okay. Can you please confirm that you are watching my, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So thank you everyone for being here. Today, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Conservation Strategy Fund. We've been part of the CLTN for around a year now. I've been joining some of the sessions, so it's really good to see you, some of the people that have presented before here. So what we do in Conservation Strategy Fund, just let me put this a little bit bigger. Okay, is we speak and we give to leaders the language of policymakers and build a business case for nature. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about CSF, our partner, Conservation Finance Alliance, specifically about the Numbers for Nature Training Institute, which is like the training arm that CSF has. And we're going to focus a little bit on the capacity development for environmental leadership. We have today one of our alumni, Mark Gerald, who's here with us. And we also have a video from Mar Espinosa, who is an alumni. And Shelley was also mentioning that she is going to present, I think, in June. So you're going to see her today, and then you're going to see her presenting about her program in a couple of months. I'm also going to share with you our new initiative for 2030. And then we're gonna jump to play a little games, like an activity, to see how economics affect decisions and how our decisions affect nature. And as Shelley mentioned, we're gonna then have some time for discussion and questions if you have. But before we start, I would like to introduce you to my team, the Numbers for Nature team. Natalia, the training director, and we have Lizzie, who is going to be running the activity, the Economics in Action activity at the end of the session. She's our training specialist, and she is based in the US, in Washington. Here with us is also Irina. She's our training coordinator based in Bolivia. And part of the Numbers for Nature team is also Sam Mayers, who's here with us. She's based in London, and she's our communications manager. And Annie, who is based in Peru. So as you can see, we are all around the world, but we work very closely with Numbers for Nature. And about CSF then, we are entirely focused on economics and finance for conservation. We do economics and finance in two big ways, let's say, is applied research and training. So with the research part, we estimate the benefits of protecting nature and how that improves people's well-being. We estimate the cost of destroying nature and also how that affects us and nature. We work with finance instruments for conservation and restoration, and we do capacity development in environmental economics and finance. The CSF team is all over the world. We have these offices in Colombia, Costa Rica, Bolivia, Brazil, Peru, and also in South Africa, Indonesia, and in the US. And we work from these countries in all the regions in the world. So we have been doing work in Southeast Asia, in the Pacific, Europe, Africa, from these different offices. Our impact, well, we have more than 300 papers published demonstrating the values of nature. We have more than 3,000 partners that are part of our networks. And specifically with training, we have more than 5,000 alumni transforming conservation and development all around the world. Our theory of change is basically we work with people that it's already doing conservation out there, and we equip them with the economic research, training, technical assistance for them to then basically sit on the tables where decisions are made and decisions that affect nature are made. With CSF, which is basically focused on applying economics to conservation, protect nature and people, we also have now, and I think it's been 2 years since we started this very strong partnership with Conservation Finance Alliance. I know some of you have also worked with them in the past. David Mayers is the executive director. And they are our leading professional association, specifically for conservation finance. And we, CSF and CFA, joined our forces to provide strategic advisory to governments and organizations on conservation finance solutions. CFA is mostly focused on protected and conserved areas, finance, nature credits, conservation trust funds, finance, innovations, financial innovations. For example, they are now running the Conservation Finance Alliance incubator, supporting many projects around the world, improve their financial mechanisms. And we, the Numbers for Nature Training Institute, along with CFA, do a lot of capacity development on conservation finance for leaders. Let me see. So the CSF courses, basically Numbers for Nature Training Institute and our capacity development for environmental leaders, are courses in very different ways. We do our courses. We have in-person, and we have self-paced, virtual, hybrid, working groups, community of practices. We work with professionals all around the world in the best ways that work for them. And our courses and our modules are taught by experts who understand. Practitioners are, as the team from the masters call them, practitioners who really understand the real world development issues, and they demonstrate how economics advance environmental goals in practical and strategic ways. And we in the Institute, we strongly believe that environmental leaders need more than ecological knowledge, and that we, leaders, must understand the economic drivers, such as land use change, agricultural expansion, extractive industries, infrastructure development, and how all these economic drivers impact biodiversity. Let me see, I have something coming from Zoom saying that I speak Spanish. Yes, I do, but I'm speaking in English. Okay, I hope you can understand, because Zoom apparently can't. Okay, so what we do with our training, and when we train environmental leaders, is try to strengthen their arguments for policy influence. This thing keeps coming up, sorry. And the idea is that we know that to secure political and public support, the leaders need to articulate the economic value of ecosystems into their arguments. So we supported with that, and our training is basically focused on integrating natural capital accounting, cost-benefit analysis, economic valuation into the decision-making and the advocacy for nature. And the other big part is the innovative financial mechanisms. So the idea is that to bridge this gap between conservation goals and financial viability, the leaders need to be equipped with instruments such as blended finance, climate funds, impact investment, payment for environmental services, and some other tools that we give them in our courses. And we believe that with all these big package of tools, our environmental leaders can sit in these tables where decisions are made and make strong cases for conservation in the language of the decision makers. So we have been doing this all around. As I mentioned, we have more than 5,000 people, alumni from our programs that are from more than 131 countries and across 3,000 organizations. And we keep hearing that these courses are life-changing, and that these really work for them to sit on these tables. And Mark and Mar are going to give us a little bit more from their own point of view. So the Numbers for Nature Training Institute used to do in-person courses before pandemia, and we started actually with virtual hybrid courses and training programs many years ago. But since the pandemia, we had to move our training to virtual. So we created a platform for teaching our courses. This is the Numbers for Nature Training Institute. It was launched in 2022. And we have now this platform with self-paced courses. It's our gallery, our library, and is the place where our courses, virtual courses, happen, and people gather there in our community of exchange and other resources that we have in this platform. We have it in English and also in Spanish. So these are the main two languages, but very soon, hopefully, we're going to have also in Portuguese. And as I mentioned, well, maybe I didn't mention this before, but we have been around for over 28 years. There is one specific course that we do every year since 1998, and it's our Economics and Finance for Environmental Leadership. Used to be called Economic Tools for Conservation, and many years ago we changed the name. But this is a very well-known course that has been happening every year. Used to be in person. We used to do it in Stanford University, and then we also did it in Berkeley, in Humboldt University in the US. And since pandemia, we moved to the virtual sphere. We do 12 to 14 weeks of virtual training, where we have synchronous Zoom calls with the experts, but we also have a whole self-paced part where people watch our classes, do exercises online, and then come and share with the rest of the participants and experts in this synchronous. We do this course, we have been doing this course for 28 years all around the world in many languages, but currently we do it in Spanish, English, and Bahasa. And the English and Spanish courses are every year, taught every year. In Spanish, we do it virtual. And from this year, we are finally going back to in-person, again, to the Stanford University. And I'll be talking a little bit more about this course and this opportunity that we have for this year. But this is basically an 8 to 9 modules course. Every module is taught by a different expert practitioner. We have fundamentals of economics. We have all the analysis tools, valuation, cost-benefit analysis. We have, of course, finance solutions, policy, environmental policy module. And we also have kind of new, maybe a couple of years that we have been doing this behavioral economics module. And so all of these this year is going to be in person, and especially the behavioral economics module is very fun because it's full of games, and some of those are the ones that we're going to do a little bit later on today, once I'm finished speaking so much. And with the courses, we also have partnerships. So we do bespoke courses for our partners. And I'm just going to show you some of the last 2 years courses that we've done. With the Nature Conservancy, we did one in 2023. I can't see because right now the fonts are very small for me, but you can see the title of the course there. And we also did an in-person one in 2023 with Conservation International. This was in person in Washington, integrating natural capital into investment decisions. We last year did one for WWF, and they have nature-based tourism platform in Africa, and we did this course in strategies for effective nature-based tourism for them. We have been running 3 versions of our financial sustainability for protected areas in Spanish. We've done in the last 2 years 3 of these courses, one for CERNAP, which is the Peruvian National Parks System. We did one for the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, CEPF, and for all their partners in the Andes Amazon region working in protected areas. And we did one last year for Pew Charitable Trust, supporting the Austral University of Austral University from Chile. And through them, we train people and practitioners and professionals working in protected areas in Chile and in other countries too from Latin America. And that was a hybrid course. So we did something like 12 to 14 weeks of virtual training, and then we met to present some practice work that people did in teams. So it was like a workshop, practical workshop that we met at the end. And we also have programs with IUCN. So IUCN BioPAMA program in Africa. We did the economics and finance for their grantees. This course was Strategies for Effective Protected Areas Management in Africa. And currently we are doing with IUCN and their PAPACO program in Africa too, a self-paced tutorial on the best practices for protected areas finance, and also focus on Africa. We have other partners. We do other specific work with partners. We have the GFCR, the Global Fund for Coral Reefs, that we are supporting them in with their Reef Plus Learn component of their program, basically doing some of the modules, self-paced modules that they're going to have there for their convenient agents, and helping them build the Reef Plus Learn program. And we also work with CTFs, with the Conservation Trust Funds in Africa and Latin America. And we are supporting them with working groups, exchanging and learning spaces for these CTFs in Africa and Latin America. I feel like I'm speaking too much, so I'm gonna try to wrap up as soon as possible, so we can just jump into the activities. But I wanted also to share some free resources that Conservation Strategy Fund and the Numbers for Nature Training Institute have. And these are, we have For Nature podcast. Sam, our communications manager that is here, managed this program. And we are soon going to have our first episode of the season 3, sorry, with Samantha Power in Rewilding Our Money. And we have two seasons that you can also find in our channels, all about economics and finance for nature. We also have the For Nature webinars. Our next one is going to be on May 8th, and Mar, the famous Mar, is also going to be there, supporting us and sharing with us her perspective about local leadership for conservation. And this webinar on 8th May is going to be about capacity building for conservation. It's going to be focused on that. And Kim Bonine is going to be sharing about nature-based leadership. David Johnson, a professor from the Madison, Wisconsin Madison University, is going to be sharing about young leaderships and Mar, local leaderships. So you can also join us there. And we have a series of videos, the economic video lessons, short animated videos about economics and tools for conservation that you can find in our YouTube channels. Oh my God, we have more. Self-paced courses. We have 3 self-paced courses available in our Numbers for Nature Training Institute platform in English. These are Introduction to Conservation Finance with David Mayers from Conservation Finance Alliance. And we have Introduction to Cost-Benefit Analysis and Introduction to Environmental Valuation. So all these courses have some theory, lectures, readings, and exercises. And you can find them, do it in your own time. If you enroll, you have 1 year to do the whole course, which won't take you more than 10 hours actually, but you can use the whole year to run the course on time, or many times if you want. They are pretty affordable. Knowledgeable instructors teach all these modules, and you can find them in our website. And okay, I'm gonna now introduce Mark Gerald. Well, this is the part where we focus on like our alumni and what they say, what they think about our courses. And I just want to mention 95% of our alumni think that this course is basically change their life and the way they approach their work, because they gain this language and these tools that support them in their work. So most of the time, environmental leaders are not using economics and finance tools and language, and these sometimes don't help us to sit on those tables. So now we're going to hear from Mark and from Mar about how integrating this knowledge about economics and finance change their perspectives and support their work and the programs that they are leading in Africa and in Latin America. So thank you so much, Mark, for joining us today. Mark is the CSF, the current CSF Africa Director. So he's going to share a little bit more about his work and these tools. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks very much, Nati, and hi, everybody. When you go through all of those tools and all of those resources, there's an amazing amount of stuff on offer there. So it's so good to see it sort of all run through. But yes, as Nati said, I'm the Africa Director for CSF. So I really got sucked into this following the course. I've been more in the conservation sector, working in conservation NGOs in South Africa for a number of years, and maybe sort of initially why did I start looking at this, and why did I start looking at CSF, to start talking to CSF and looking at the course itself, was really because in the conservation space, in the work that we were doing, I felt that we were always at the tail end of the decisions that were being made. A lot of times, sort of threats that were facing our biodiversity, threats that were facing our landscape, I often found those decisions to carry those threats out had already been made. And so we as the conservation sector were often right at that tail end and trying to sort of mitigate and trying to reduce the negative impacts from it, rather than having a discussion around how to do something differently. And so in my conservation sort of career then, I started thinking about, well, how do we get to that decision-making table, rather? How can we as conservationists get into that sort of decision-making space, be able to show some of the negative impacts, to be able to show some of the trade-offs that would be made, and show the consequences of certain decisions that would be made at a development level. And so, at that stage, that's when I was introduced to CSF and the work that the organization does, and really the support that the organization provides to conservationists in the field and other decision makers, whether it's government, whether it's corporates, to try and help better understand these impacts, or better understand or make more informed decisions around this. And it really has been sort of participating in the course itself, and then many follow-up conversations because of the connection into the alumni network, and having open discussions with a number of people that are sort of in the same position, having really open discussions, but having strong economists and financial experts in the room to be able to start saying, well, have you thought about this, or have you thought about that? And so that alumni engagement and that network was really, really valuable for me, and has been really valuable for me. And I think sort of taking information out of it, and I am not an economist, so I don't have that technical sort of aspect of what a lot of the experts in CSF have. And so it's really extremely valuable to be able to get that type of knowledge and help change the way that we think. I think importantly, sort of that opening slide, Nati, that you had up, spoke about speaking the language of policymakers and build a business case for nature. So I think for me that language has always been really important. Often what I found in my career is when we talk to government as conservationists, we're talking a totally different language, and they're thinking of, a lot of governments are thinking of some of their key agenda items. How do we address education? How do we address unemployment? How do we address health and whatnot. And so when we talk about conservation issues, it's never fully joins up. But if we can talk about it from an economics perspective and talk about it in that language that addresses and show those links between health and the environment, show those links between livelihoods or between economic development and the environment and how it underpins a lot of that stuff, it just makes our conversations with those decision makers so much more relevant. So we're hitting the right keys with them, and so we can have much more engaged discussions rather than us sort of talking to them about the environment or about conservation and us getting frustrated with development trajectories that governments are taking. And so that language piece has been really valuable. And then that second component around sort of making the business case. A lot of times, and I'll talk about South Africa specifically, as we have really good targets around protected area expansion, but existing protected area management is so important as well. And yet government, we're always seeing that as really low down on the priority list in terms of spending money. I think South Africa will spend less than 1% of our GDP on the environment and on conservation. And so we need to build that case up and why this is so important. And that's what I've found has been so valuable from the links in with CSF and being able to sort of make that case, but make it with numbers, make it with data, go in with that economic argument, that financial argument, which has been extremely, extremely valuable in this space here. And what I've also found, just sort of a final point, and I would encourage all of you to do it, those sort of resources that Nati alluded to on our website, those courses, the sort of the online courses, or just those little economic videos that we have there. They're short and easy to watch, and that's such a good opportunity. I often go back and just sort of watch them and just sort of get my head around understanding the economic components of certain aspects. And so I would encourage all of you to do that. But yeah, I think that sums up just really briefly where I've seen the value and how I sort of got into CSF initially, and why I found it so valuable in driving sort of my own sort of conservation trajectory, and how do we push this at a different level. So thanks, Nati, and yeah, open for any questions as well.
Thank you so much, Mark. And let me see. Now I should be able. And Mark is going to stay for the rest of the call, right? So if anyone has any question about Mark and the Africa work, the work we do in Africa, we can also talk about later. I'm gonna try to, doesn't work, right? The video.
It's up there, but it's not playing.
Hi,
Can you hear it? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So this is Mar, alumni from Conservation Leadership Masters and alumni from Conservation Strategy Fund, Economics and Finance for Environmental Leadership course in Spanish and virtual from last year. And that's my roster, if you can hear it.
Hi, my name is Mara Espinosa. I am a Conservation Leadership alumni from Cambridge, and I wanted to send this video to tell you like how important has been in my development and career, and like how I see conservation now after doing training in economics with Conservation Strategy Fund. I believe that my new understanding of how economics work and how you can speak financial language to other sectors has contributed immensely into my work being more interdisciplinary and being able to communicate the importance of nature and why is it important to conserve biodiversity, to mitigate climate change, not only based on our health, which is a part that I already work on, or our social well-being, but also our financial system and our economic system. It was also an opportunity to connect with other people around Latin America, working and interested in similar issues, and understanding how we can actually get through communicating to governments and people new strategies that protect nature and people while protecting the well-being of the social and economic system. So thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, that was Mar, and I'm just gonna do one last.
Hi, my name is Maris.
Work. Let me. Okay, now you can see the next one, right? Yes. So I wanted to also share with you that during these 28 years, we have been focusing mostly in professionals, technicians working in environment. We don't only work with environmental people that are environmental engineers or biologists, or we also work, for example, with economists and people from finance who want to understand better how to use their tools for conservation. So they are also conservation leaders. And now our main focus is to expand this set of tools and mechanisms, instruments for indigenous peoples and local communities. So this is our focus for the next 5 years, empowering basically local leaders for a lasting change. And so our capacity development programs want to prioritize this audience and equip community leaders, especially young people, women, and indigenous people, with the knowledge, the tools, the networks to lead conservation and climate action within their territories. So we are basically using our materials for this audience and start working with them in the territories in the very, very near future. We are actually currently working on that. And finally, before we jump to the activities and understanding a little bit more our economic decisions, how that affects nature, how nature affects our decisions, how are we affected by our affectations to the nature, I wanted to share with you about our flagship course, Conservation and Finance for Environmental Leadership, this year happening in Stanford University in California from August 18 to the 29th. You have a QR code in the slide that you can scan. It will take you to our page about the course, the landing page about the course, with all the information about instructors, topics, logistics, and prices, how to enroll. And there is a form that you can fill out there if you're interested in participating. And it has one question about referrals. If you were referral by the CLTN network, from this network, if you select that, you will immediately gain 35% in the participation for this course. So feel free to contact us. Also, if you have any questions about this and how to make it work, we have a deadline for this 35% discount, but for you, for the CLTN, it won't, you can use it at any point before the end The deadline for registrations is July 11. So you can use this discount at any point before that. And now I'm going to introduce you to Lizzie Williamson, our training specialist. And Lizzie is gonna be doing some activities with you, so we can put in practice a little bit more about this economic thinking and language. Lizzie, I leave them with you. Are you around?
Yes. Hi, Nati. Great. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet all of you and participate on this webinar. I was seeing some questions in the chat about how does this, how does this training actually translate into better conservation outcomes for people? And what I was thinking is that we could do a couple fun scenarios to see how your decisions are already economic decisions and how that can impact our conservation work. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and warning, get out a second device. You're going to need a second device to scan some QR codes or at least access to a browser. And you're going to answer a couple polls for me. Okay. Oops. So first, answer this question for me. Would you rather receive $10,000 US dollars today, or would you rather receive that $10,000 5 years from now? Don't think about it too hard. What is the decision that you would make? And then we'll see what everybody's answers are. Okay, I see responses rolling in. I'll give it 30 more seconds. $10,000 today or 5 years from now? Okay, we're going to find out together. What did everybody choose? Unsurprisingly, a lot of people would rather receive $10,000 today than wait 5 years. Only about 8% of people wanted to wait to receive that $10,000. So, now 15%. But a huge majority of people would rather receive money now. And this is actually your decisions as conservationists are contributing to economic theory. So this theory is called capital theory, and it relates specifically to the time value of money, where the theory is, and laid out in practice, is that many people perceive that a sum of money is worth more now than the same sum is going to be at the future. And this can be the case for a few reasons. First, pure time preference. You want things now, not in the future. You'd rather get it done now. There's also an opportunity cost if you wait to receive that capital. You could take that $10,000 and invest it in the stock market and then, double your investment before that 5 years is even up. Or you're just thinking about inflation. The purchasing power decreases over time. $10,000 is not worth the same amount of money as it is 5 years in the future just by the growth of the economy. And then finally, you might have current needs where you need that money now and you can't afford to let it sit somewhere else. Health concerns, food, shelter, basic needs, or wants and needs as well. Maybe you want to take a trip and you'd rather do that now than 5 years from now. All of these are rational decisions why you would want to receive this money now. And overwhelmingly, it's the decisions that a lot of people make about things not just other than money, but also in our physical and our natural capital. We live in a property-based society, so when landowners are thinking about the use of their land, they're thinking about short-term value and short-term returns that they can gain. Like they might not see, or this capital theory impacts how we value and use the natural resources on that land. People might not see trees for their ecosystem services. They might see them for the price that they can get for lumber and the revenue that they could get from selling that lumber right now that might fulfill some of their needs right now. And when we understand that a lot of people have those incentives to receive benefits now instead of benefits later, we need to think as conservationists how we can understand and realign those incentives. At CSF, a lot of that includes doing environmental valuation, where we try to tell people, hey, you're thinking of the value of your land as this amount, this monetary value, this cost of lumber, or that it costs nothing right now just to let it sit and be a forest. But in reality, here is the value and the return on investment that these ecosystem services are providing through water filtration or through habitat for key wildlife. All of those contribute to the value of a land, and we can then help communicate that value to make people feel a little bit more willing to push their investment into the future and preserve nature. So let's try another poll. Would you rather win $200 USD for sure, or flip a coin for a 50% chance to win 400 USD? Would you rather take $2,000, 100% chance, or would you rather risk it for the chance of getting more money? Take 30 seconds, fill out the poll. Let me know what you think. We've got 9 responses. I think that's good enough. 50-50. Oh, a little bit more. Some people are feeling a little risky and want to flip a coin for the chance of $400. Other people are wanting to save it for and just get $200 straight up. We're pretty even about how people are feeling with their riskiness. Very interesting. Okay, and one more poll for you. Now it's the opposite. Would you rather lose $200, confirmed 100% chance, or flip a coin with a 50% risk of losing $400 USD? Okay, we've got a good amount of responses. Let's see what everybody thought. Okay, people are feeling a little riskier in this one. 62% of people would rather risk losing $400, but there's a 50% chance that they don't lose any money at all. And some people would rather just take the safe bet. I'm out $200, but hey, it's not $400. I'll walk away. That's a win. Very interesting. And what these 2 polls are showing is actually a behavioral economics theory from one of our newer modules. And this is specifically prospect theory. And it talks about how in neoclassical economics, we're trying to predict people's behavior. But some of our behavior is unpredictable and it's not always estimatable. So what prospect theory does is it tries to explain why people have a different aversion to risk when we're talking about gains and when we're talking about losses. So as you guys demonstrated, more people were willing to be risky when there was a loss on the line rather than a gain. With gains, more people tend to play it safe, and with losses, we tend to risk it. How does that necessarily link to our conservation work? What types of arguments can motivate large-scale nature positive actions when we understand that people see the loss of $400 a lot greater than they see the gain of $400? Those sorts of skews in the way that we perceive things that aren't necessarily rational, but they are explainable, help us then to nudge people towards positive natural behaviors. And this really helps with environmental communication. How can we communicate a loss of an environment or a gain of an environment in order for people to take the action that we want them to take? And this is all covered in some of our behavioral economics modules within our courses. So I'm seeing that we've got only a little bit of time left, so I'm going to stop there. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a taste about how you're already economists, you're already making decisions that are impacting an economy. And even you as conservationists could potentially be making decisions that aren't great for the environment just by our natural biases as humans. And if you guys can make those decisions, we need to be thinking about how we can bring policymakers and decision makers towards our camp and influence their decisions to be more positive towards nature. Okay, and I'll just leave it up on this slide for you guys if you want to follow us or sign up for our newsletter, and I think we'll open it up to questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Lizzie. That was brilliant. And thank you, everybody who participated. We don't have too much time. Maybe Shelley also needs some time to wrap up today's session, but we have been answering some of your questions and comments in the chat. But Nina made me think about something, and I want to open that opportunity here. For CLTN members, I mentioned the 35% discount for the course, in-person course in Stanford. But we also have these self-paced courses. They're pretty affordable. It's only $80 each one of those, but I want to make them available for the CLTN network for free. So if you are interested in taking one of these courses, remember Introduction to Conservation Finance with David Mayers, from Executive Director from Conservation Finance Alliance, or the CSF team, we have Introduction to Valuation and Introduction to Cost-Benefit Analysis. So let us know, send us an email, training@conservationstrategy.org. Maybe I pronunciated that wrongly. If Lizzie can please put the email in the chat, that I will appreciate that. You just send us an email if you would like to be part of this, or if you like to move forward with any other opportunity that we could do together. But anyway, if there is any question, any comment from the people here, please feel free. And I also want to invite Sam, Lizzie, Irina to answer anything if you want to participate.
Oh, good, thanks.
Thank you, Steph. Shelley, I think we don't have further questions or comments. So back to you for closing the session today.
Thank you so much to all of you. That was absolutely amazing. And thank you for the opportunities that you're going to provide to the CLTN. That's wonderful. Yeah, absolutely delightful peer learning session. I will share the recording with those people who couldn't attend, and the opportunities that you've listed for our members. Thank you all for participating, and as I mentioned in the intro, if any of you have a peer learning session to offer, please get in touch with me and I will book that in for some time in 2025. Yeah, delightful to see you all. I'm going to give you 4 minutes of your day now. So yeah, lovely to see you all. Take care. Thank you once again to the CSF, and yeah, look forward to seeing you all soon. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice to see you. Bye.